Well, hello, good people. I'm Dr. L. Brown.
And I'm Ricky too.
And today we're going to talk about self-advocacy. Right?
What is self-advocacy?
Oh, okay. Well, self-advocacy is the ability to stand up for oneself, to speak up for yourself, if you need something, to be able to say, I need something.
Yeah, like instead of like being like very instead of hesitating to ask it.
Mm-hmm. Instead of hesitating.
Like I'll say, if we need a drink of water, asking the teacher saying, can I get a drink of water?
Exactly. Or if you don't understand a question, or if you don't understand something that the teacher is saying, raising your hand and saying, could you please explain this to me further? Or if you feel as though someone isn't treating you well, to be able to say, well, I'm not being treated well. So the ability to stand up for yourself, to speak up for yourself, because for, a long time, it was my job. Sort of like how you said, you're the bear now. So that's self-advocacy.
Yeah.
So self-advocacy is a very important attribute for anyone to have, especially children with disabilities. As a parent, my perspective was completely changed and paradigm was completely shifted when I attended a summit right before Ricky 2 went to fourth grade. So I attended a summit at the Department of Education. It was the anniversary of IDEA, which was the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. So we went there as, parents. And the beauty of this particular summit was the speakers were all individuals who had disabilities. And
or like who had autism, who had any type of other disability.
Yeah, may have hearing, impairment, or, it was a myriad of physical disabilities, neurological disabilities, but they were all adults and they were all accomplished and they were the speakers. And so one of the things that I noticed as they were speaking, it was like a theme that just went throughout each one. And it was all these really accomplished people. They were saying that their parents allowed them to have a voice. Their parents taught them very early on to advocate for themselves.
Exactly.
Boom. So one young lady even talked about how her parents said that they are the cavalry and that she is, the front person for her life. And if she needs backup, she then calls in mom and dad and we'll come in as the backup, but we want you to be able to use your voice. And so one of the things they said that I had never considered, they were like from early on, like fourth grade, that children with disabilities should be present in their IEP meetings, that they should be present at their teacher conferences so that they can be a part of the planning for their trajectory for that year.
For that year, or maybe the progression.
For the progression, exactly. So I was like, oh, I like this. And so afterwards, I stopped and I talked with some of them to see, what age did their parents start inviting them into parent conferences and IEP meetings. And they all shared that it was about 9-10 years old. You have something to say?
Exactly. Like, I used to, be on my iPad, a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. I wasn't invited to the meeting yet.
Right. So what he's saying before, because the IEP meetings would usually be early in the morning, that we would bring him with us, and then he would be on the iPad, and someone in the office would watch him while we were in the meetings until school started. Well, after I had that experience, I insisted that Ricky too attended every IEP meeting and conferences that we would have, because I was learning from these individuals who were adults with disabilities that they know what they need best.
A+ on that.
A+ on that. So I was like, okay, I'd already recognized at 9 that he was the expert on autism, but I had never considered having him sit in the IEP meetings and, voice his opinions on like what his goals were for himself, the things that he enjoyed about school, the things that he would like to see a little different in school. So the first time I invited him in was at the beginning of the 4th grade year. So at the beginning of the 4th grade year, he was able to communicate who he felt were the safe people in the school, the areas in the school that made him comfortable, the areas in the schools that made him uncomfortable. And my baby had all this input that he was able to offer to his teachers at the beginning of the year.
That's true.
That's true. Then for the next IEP meeting, he came in and I introduced Ricky to in the IEP meeting. I said, he's the only person in the room who has autism. Ricky too, we want to get your perspective. And true enough, Ricky too was able to say, these are the things I enjoy in school. These are the things I need to work on. This would make me happiest if I was able to do this. And so as we were writing your goals, we took your input into consideration.
That's true.
Then I wanted him to know that it was beyond the planning of his educational program, but it was also in how he was treated, not only by children, but by adults. So I don't know if you remember this. I'm sure you do. You remember everything. You were in extended school year and you saw a little boy who was, he was stimming, and you asked the teacher if he had autism.
Oh, and I said, and he said, and she said, the answer to your question is yes.
Yeah, he remembers. And I heard that. So I was standing outside the door waiting for him to come out of the school for the extended year program. And extended year is a program they have for children who need additional assistance to have, some longer time during the summers, like almost like a bridge program to ensure that they don't lose skills over the summer. Yeah. So to contextualize extended school year, everyone in the extended school year program, which is like summer school, has a disability. So if he is there, he has a disability. If the teachers are there, they are teachers who are trained to work with individuals with disabilities. So Ricky too. True. So Ricky too, just that summer, maybe like the summer before, we had started talking about autism and the characteristics of autism. So he saw in another child the characteristics of autism. And so he then asked the teacher, who was supposed to be skilled in working with children with disabilities, does he have autism? And the way she answered the question was very curt. She's like, the answer to your question is yes. And so I heard that, and Ricky too came out of the building and he had like a perplexed look on his face.
What does that mean?
Like confused. It's like you didn't know if you had gotten in trouble. You didn't know what had happened. So I was like, are you okay? And at first he didn't say anything. I said, how do you feel about, what just happened? And when he let me know that he felt uncomfortable with what had just happened, the interchange between him and the teacher, I then walked him back into the school and the teacher was in the library. And so we went up to the teacher and I gave him an opportunity to explain to her that, he was himself on the autism spectrum and he had noticed the child displaying characteristics of stimming. So he was asking, well, as Ricky too was trying to get this out, the teacher was not very kind. She was not at all. So at that point, as mom, I then step in and say, well, he really was attempting to explain himself. I really thought that you would have received him differently. So I then asked for her name and I chose to take my son to the principal's office. And I asked to speak to the principal. And so we stayed there and we waited for the principal to come, principal of summer school. The teacher then came in because I let her know that we were going to go to the office. She then came in, she says, well, can I sit in the meeting? And I was like, most certainly, because everything that we were going to say to the principal was the truth. But I wanted Ricky too to see what advocacy looked like. So when the principal came in, we all went into his office. It was me, Ricky too, the principal, and the teacher. Yeah. And so when we get into the principal's office, I asked Ricky too to retell the experience that he had just had. And so he goes through and he talks about, the question he asked the teacher, how the teacher responded, and how he attempted to talk to the teacher, And so then afterwards, I then, said something to his mom, how extended school year was there for children with disabilities. And we're not only helping them grow academically, but also, in social skills. So therefore, our interchanges with them was, really important. And I had expectations for all the service providers that were there. And so the teacher, to her credit, she was really like surprised, taken aback, and she really received the information very well. And she was like, in all my years of working in special education, I've never seen a parent and child advocate for themselves the way that you two just did. And she was like, ma'am, I really want to offer you my sincerest apology. And I then said to her, oh, well, you didn't offend me, you offended him. And who did she have to apologize to?
Me.
And so I was like, well, the only person here that is owed an apology is Ricky too. And she then apologized to Ricky too. And what did you say?
It's okay.
You said, it's okay, I accept your apology. And I said, well, you accept her apology, but it isn't okay. But it will be if this doesn't happen to another child in the future. And it was one of those things, it was a moment that when Ricky too walked out of the building, he walked out proud of himself. Whereas before, when he walked out, he was perplexed, confused. He was wondering why he just got in trouble. And when we walked away from that experience, I wanted him to know that if you ever feel any type of way other than good, and you are in a situation that you can always, Tell me, speak up for yourself, let someone know, like, hey, I didn't really appreciate the way you handled me.
Even though that's embarrassing, even though it's embarrassing, they don't want to explain your emotions because you're too sad to explain, or it can be way too much information, but always just say up for yourself.
Yeah, always just stand up for yourself. And remember, I always got your back. So, you don't have to stand up for yourself alone. If you ever feel like the emotions are so big, I'll always be there to have your back.
That's true.
But with that, I want to ensure that he knows that he can stand up for himself. So when your children are, in situations where they need assistance or they haven't been treated well, give them permission to have a voice to speak up for themselves, and let them know that, you have their back. Because there's a difference between, being compliant and being respectful. You don't always have to comply to adults just because you are a child, because
That's
adults
true.
sometimes are disrespectful.
Yeah.
And I want you to know that you always have a voice, and no one has the authority to disrespect you.
Disrespect me.
Ever.
Just disrespect me, talk to me in a very, very strict manner. Just be cool.
Just be cool, because you're a person and you're going to be cool with them.
Exactly.
All right. So again, life was changed for me after going to that summit, when I saw that there were people with disabilities who had accomplished so much because their parents had empowered them from very early on to believe that they were worthy, they deserved respect, they could do it, and that there was a place for them in this world. So I was determined.
Like a place for them in this world, like, no matter human being, no matter what type, what gender, what skin color human being you are, you're still a human being.
You're still a human being, and you deserve respect. And one last note, respect is not earned, respect is given. Everyone deserves respect just because we are children of God. So with that, you're going to get respect, I'm going to get respect, and
we all get respect.
And we all get respect. I don't have any more, do you?
All I say is, just keep the respect spirit going. I'm spreading.
Just keep the respect spirit going.
Well, pretend that there's like a big giant circle of respect. And you guys are all around the circle, not inside the circle. It's in the perimeter of the circle. It's like all around in the outside, almost like little plants, and evenly just like little web shooting out to one, reflecting off one another to each individual.
All giving respect. So, from our family to yours, respect each other and bye.